What's up, people? Hey, it's Brad going solo today. I am back from Permissionless. It looks like I have a lag. That's weird. Anyway, hope everyone is having a great day. It's going to be a short episode today. I've got a lot of follow up to do with folks, but wanted to quickly give you a recap of kind of briefly what I experienced at the show, because out here in investor land, everybody's a little bit bummed, saddened about the state of affairs with prices. I personally think that we are at a point where this is a great opportunity for people that want to get into their favorite tokens or other tokens at this point. So I'm actually really excited about what's happening, and because I think these low prices for the next run up give us a lot of opportunities for growth. Of course, I'm not happy about where we stand with things, in general. And obviously, all of us were disturbed by the UST Terra debacle of last week. But I put out a tweet yesterday on that, because coming out of this permissionless conference, I am more fired up than I have ever been about being in DeFi. And I know that sounds a little strange with everything that has happened, but I have to tell you that at this permissionless conference, I was thoroughly blown away by the people I met, the projects I talked to, the panels that were held, the building that is going on at massive scale is absolutely tremendous. There was no doom and gloom. There was no people are scared. There were institutional investors everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And real quickly, I want to give a shout out to my friend, fellow listener, and someone who's helped out with us quite a bit and participates in the show, and that's Amen Zero G's, who I spent a ton of time with at the show. We had a great time meeting people, networking at all the great parties. It was just, it was a fantastic event. I got to give it to the guys at Bankless for creating a well-run event. Now, I will say there was one glaring problem. And this was held in West Palm Beach, Florida, so 90 miles from me. I took the train up. We have a fancy new train. Supposed to be high speed, but it can't get high speed till it gets past some northern parts of Florida when it gets to Orlando. But took the train up. It was a lovely experience. That's called Brightline if you're ever in Florida and you need to move up and down in the state. Much better than the endless, boring drive that driving in Florida is. But it was an absolutely fantastic experience. The thing was run great, but they chose a city that evidently has a lot of difficulty with towers, cellular towers, and internet connectivity. I'm an AT&T customer, and it was absolutely abysmal everywhere I went. And I was hopping all over the city in lifts, for 3 days. And the internet connectivity in the convention center was worse, like absolutely atrocious. So my only recommendation to the Bankless guys is great job. The Blockworks guys as well. Great job. Awesome event. Everything ran smoothly. I was thoroughly impressed. I've been to a lot of trade shows and conferences in my life, and this one was run beautifully. The speakers were, for the most part, top notch. I would say that about 70%, 75% of the time I spent watching panels and speakers, I got value out of it. And I typically don't say that about these conferences. Usually it's just kind of rehashing what we already know out in the world. So it was fantastic. It was really absolutely a fantastic experience, except for the just brutal. And, you know, it's a crypto conference. So I would just suggest not going back to West Palm Beach, Florida. Beautiful place, but, you know, just no good. Other than that, fantastic event. And the networking was awesome. And the really cool thing was I got to meet in person a large number of the folks that I have interviewed over the last year plus. And that was really fantastic because, you know, I already have a great deal of respect for a lot of these people, but I was blown away by actually getting to sit and talk with them and hear what they're doing. And the cool thing is because they're all heading projects, I got invited to a lot of great parties. So that was a lot of fun too. Went to a crazy, crazy party on Wednesday night that Ankr threw in partnership with Waves chain. I had no idea they even had a partnership with Waves, but that was great. Had a great chat with Josh Neuroth of Ankr. And I got to tell you, I am really excited about what's coming out of that project soon. Some things I can't talk about because it's not public yet, but the partnerships that they are launching, the tools they are building, they are not sitting back and waiting for the markets to recover. They are diving in aggressively to take on the world. The other folks that I had an amazing conversation with, as well as Mark Richardson from Bancor, also was a panel speaker who did an amazing job speaking and talking about what version 3 Bancor does for the world. It was fantastic. And I wouldn't even have been at the show if it wasn't for Nate Hinman from Bancor, because he's the one that threw me a ticket at the last minute. So all in all, fantastic, fantastic experience. But the core thing is what I started out with. The thing that's most important to me is that what I saw at this show was 6,000 people who are not slowing down. And they are not stopping building, and they are not worried about price, and they are approaching the culture of DeFi in a bigger and better way, because the timing of this event could not have been better. And I say that in all seriousness, because you would think that coming off of this massive crash because of Do Kwon and Terra Money and that project, the massive crash that we experienced, you would think that coming into a trade show a week later, it would just be a disaster, but it wasn't. What happened is there was an overwhelming commitment to stop acting like crypto bros, to work towards decentralization, to fight the battles that we have coming up that we need to fight. And it was absolutely just amazing. So I did a thread about this on Twitter. I hope you guys will take a look at it, because I am more excited than I have ever been about DeFi. I think this pain that we experienced last week is something we should be grateful for. And I know that sounds insane, and I don't mean that the people that lost a lot of money should be grateful. And I'm not trying to diminish what occurred to people who were committed to that project and other projects that were part of the wreckage. Like, you know, everything was impacted. But what I think should be grateful for is the fact that this event has refocused people and has made them determined to act like adults and to dismiss people who act like Do Kwon does. And it was so clear, so evident, the passion, the strength, the vitality of this community is absolutely overwhelmingly powerful. So I am fired up. I am excited. I talked to so many projects. I love that they trust me to tell me about the things that are coming next that I can't necessarily tell you guys about, but I'm going to be re-interviewing them. I found out, I hadn't noticed, but I interviewed Alan Chu a few months ago from Boba Network, and Boba is a powerful L2, optimistic based, optimism based, that is building a connection to AI and machine learning projects in, whether you want to call it Web 2 or the real world or whatever you want to call it. They're making it possible for people like that to compute both on-chain and off-chain at the speeds they need to for those kind of computational forces. And they raised at a $1.5 billion valuation in April. And so it was awesome to kind of sit down with the team, talk to Alan briefly, and we're going to have him back on the show to go through kind of where they're going next and how they're building. But they are some really seriously committed builders, and they are doing a really cool project that, he was on a panel, and one of the things he said was, not just in relation to his project, but this is obviously a core of his project. But one of the things he said was, we can't pretend that we are never going to connect out to projects in the real world. We have to build the gateways to those projects in the real world. We have to connect to fintech. We have to connect to other applications. We have to connect to social networks. We have to build those bridges to the real world so that we can onboard more people into financial freedom. And if we don't do that, we're going to be this little island by ourselves, right? More people will come in and more people will come in. On the way home from the trip, I was on the train, and the train was really crowded. There was a couple across from me, and her boyfriend said to me, "Oh," he asked me what I did, and I said what I do, and he said, "Oh, my girlfriend is really into crypto." And I said, "Tell me what you mean by really into crypto." And she said, "Well, I'm on Coinbase. I buy tokens. I like some projects. I research them a little bit." And I said, "That's great." I said, and what I did was I walked them through what's happening here in DeFi. Wow, my eyes are red. I'm so tired. Just took a shower. And I walked them through what's happening in DeFi and gave them some examples like Alchemix and Ankr and others. And they were blown away. And that's a problem we have, because the rest of the world sees us as a bunch of tokens. They have no concept, like literally no, your neighbors, your friends have zero concept about what is happening here. We are beyond early. We are, I don't mean beyond, we're not early. I mean, we are before early. These people have no idea. They're out there in the world kind of laughing at crypto or saying it's cool, but whatever, because they don't understand that what we're building are actual amazing financial tools. And so for them, it's just tokens. So when you explain it to someone, it's amazing. So I would encourage you that, you're the local crypto person in your community and your friends and your family, and they all kind of go, "Oh, how's Bitcoin doing?" I would encourage you to stop and take the advantage of those opportunities when people ask you questions about crypto to say, "Yeah, tokens are great. I love tokens, and I invest in tokens, but it's not the tokens that are important. It is the functionality that we are exposing, that we are putting out to the world. That's what's important. And it is critical that we let people know about things that are happening in DeFi, about, stable coin yield farming, about Alchemix, about being able to earn interest on all kinds of tokens that you're buying because you like the projects, about lending, about, all of the power that has been unleashed in this space. We have to be letting people know actually exists." So Alan's right. Alan Chu from Boba, absolutely right. We have to bridge the gaps. We absolutely have to bridge the gaps. I'm gonna put a link to my tweet thread about permissionless and how I'm feeling about it in the show notes, so you guys can take a look at that. Take a read. It's brief. It's a summary. I'm going to try this weekend to kind of go through all of the things that I attended and all the discussions I had, and put a summary thread together that goes into more detail. and also talk about a bunch of other stuff. One of the core team members at Ethereum Foundation was on a panel about the Ethereum merge, and it, without saying definitively, yes, it will happen, he basically said the merge will happen in August. And they walked through quite a bit of the details of what's still left to be done, and there isn't much left to be done. He even went so far as to say that he's actually hoping the merge will happen on July 31st, which is the anniversary of the founding of Ethereum. I personally believe, for myself and my money, do your own research, think about this yourself, but I've read a lot of analysis of late. I personally believe that that's going to be a dramatic moment in DeFi. And I mean, I think we all know that from a technology perspective and the shift from proof of work to proof of stake, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it is about the fact that I think the value of this chain is going to dramatically go up. And so I'm working hard. I'm starting to do liquid staking on Ankr. By the way, awesome interface on Ankr for liquid staking on up to, I believe it's 8 to 10 different chains, and they're adding more all the time. I talked to their biz dev guy who is actually in charge of it, doing the biz dev really. They have 7 currently. You can liquid stake on Kusama, on Phantom at 9.3% interest, on Avalanche at 8.13% interest, Polkadot's coming soon, Binance 4.54% interest, Polygon 8.71% interest, and Ethereum at 4.97% interest. And there is so much cool shit coming from this project. So ankr.com. If you are someone that believes in Phantom or Ethereum or Polygon Matic, then I encourage you to not let your assets that you're buying sit idle. I would encourage you to think about liquid staking. Again, there's always risk, smart contract risk, exploit hacker risk. But I personally am going to put my faith and trust in Ankr because I love what they're doing. I absolutely love how they're building. And then while you're there, take a look at all the other things they do. I mean, they are building a decentralized network of RPC nodes so that we don't have to be dependent on centralized providers for the infrastructure of the blockchains. And that's a really critical thing. And coming soon on those RPC nodes will be the ability to also have staking nodes. So they're building the decentralized infrastructure that we should have. And I will tell you that centralized infrastructure is growing. Infra by consensus is the largest and the biggest weakness we have in the space in terms of centralized infrastructure. Fireblocks announced this week at a panel I was on that they're launching a centralized platform for developers in the space to hook into the APIs and the protocols, the composability of protocols across the spectrum in NFTs, GameFi, and swaps and yield farming, et cetera. Well, that sounds great. Like, make it easy for developers. That sounds like a powerful, powerful thing to do. But the fact is that when it's centralized and when we can't extract ourselves, our tools, our projects out of that centralized infrastructure, that is a tremendous risk. It is a exploit and hack risk that could take down entire protocols. And it is a regulatory attack vector, because one switch to shut down a bunch of players in the space simultaneously could devastate everything we're building here. So that's why I'm such a fanboy of Ankr. I love the decentralized work they're doing. Swell Network is also heading there with some really cool marketplace models for staking. But I'm a little mad at myself that I haven't been taking advantage of more staking with my investments and the tokens that I think have a big upside. Right now, currently for me, that's Phantom, that's Ethereum, and I do like AVAX a bit as well from Avalanche. So, you know, here's the Phantom staking interface. Those are the ones you can choose from currently. Actually, I was wrong. There's only 5 currently available, 2 more coming very soon. And I know that they have a pipeline of a lot of L1s that they're going to be onboarding soon. So I encourage you to check them out. They also have a bridge. They have a liquid crowd loan platform, and some really, really cool shit coming soon. So take a look at them. This is that tweet thread I was telling you about related to Terra and UST. I did a little dig tweet with UST. Terra came out with their revised version of their forked chain that they're going to make without UST. And if you're not an American, there's a saying here, and maybe it's a saying elsewhere. It's basically don't beat a dead horse. So I started off the thread with, oh my God, just let the horse rest in peace. And I did like a fictional conversation. Why are you doing this? The community is awesome. Didn't they attack people that said they'd be broke? We need a chain. There are lots of chains. The developers are awesome. There are lots of chains. I don't want to go to jail. Yeah, lots of chains. I get it. They, want to try to salvage something from this. But frankly, this is one of those things where it's like, just kill it and move on. Send what funds are left to something as an investment. Use Superfluid and stream the payments out to folks. But just let this thing die, please. Sorry. If those of you that were harmed by it, I know that there's like this wish and dream that somehow this protocol is going to be saved and you'll be made whole again. And I hope that's the case with this. I hope this works. But I don't know how anyone in the space trusts this protocol and the people behind it ever again, because, how can you trust them to not screw it up again? How can you trust them to not be arrogant assholes? And their backs are against the wall, so it's going to be even worse. So I personally would just rather they cut it loose, either return the funds or put it in a vault, earn money for people, send them funds as they come out of it, and move on. I haven't looked at this yet, but this is the kind of shit that I want to see. TRM Labs, which I'd never heard of before, but anyway, has built in partnership with Solana, CirclePay, OpenSea, Aave, CivicKey, Hedera, and Binance US, something they're calling chain abuse. And essentially, this is an app that lets you search on addresses and URLs to look for and find scams, ransomware, or exploits. And the more of this that happens, the happier I am, because we desperately need tools to be provided to users. Now, this is something where you have to actively go initiate the search. What I really want to see in the space is I want to see tools that are, say, a browser plugin, that when I am browsing a website related to a protocol, I want to see if there's anything wrong with it that they found. I want a pop-up that comes up and says, hey, there was a problem with a wallet associated with this project, or there was a problem with an exploit, or the code is DeFi safety says this is a low scoring project and it's probably not safe. That's the kind of thing I want to see, but I'm not disparaging them. I'm really happy to see this here. What did Chuck say? Chuck said, FTM staking on Ankr doesn't seem to be working. That, or I'm no good at clicking the get FTMB button. Worked for me yesterday, Chuck, but we'll take a look. I was not having any problem. And if there is a problem, I will certainly reach out to the folks. Did you put an amount in the FTM amount area? And do you have FTM in that wallet? I don't know. Anyway, I'll chat. I'll give you some tech support later, Chuck. I know it's hard. Sorry. Okay, let's see what else. So chain abuse, that's great. So there was some, and I'm having a hard time understanding why this isn't blowing the fuck up. I got to tell you, folks, because this is some big, giant news. I frankly am shocked that the market didn't respond to this news. And I'm shocked that people aren't covering it. Like, I don't get it. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled this week, 2 days ago, I guess it was. Yeah, 2 or 3 days ago, The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in a securities case that the SEC's enforcement mechanism is unconstitutional, that denying a defendant a jury trial is unconstitutional, and that administrative judges working in the same office with the prosecutors is unconstitutional. I am absolutely flabbergasted that this isn't bigger news, because this shuts down the entire mechanism for the SEC to intimidate and browbeat and bully people. And it really weakens their ability to prosecute. And here's the other thing. It spreads their resources out thinner than they already were. Gensler was in Congress today begging for another, I don't know, $1.5–2 billion to his budget so he can hire 220 people, because he can't keep up. Now, if he hadn't fired veterans of the agency, he might not be having so much trouble, but he came in and cleaned out the top people because that's the way he operates. That's what he did at the CFTC. But this should be gigantic news. This dramatically weakens the SEC. Now, my real question is, and I'm not an attorney, but I did read a bunch of attorney responses to this. But first of all, if this gets to the Supreme Court, some of the analysts are telling me that the newer judges are absolutely on board with this. And here's the problem that comes with this ruling. If you're someone who's worried about environmental regulations or pharmaceutical regulations, all of the enforcement arms of the regulatory agencies in the United States government will also fall under this unconstitutional ruling. That's at least what the attorneys are saying. So what that means is that the EPA won't be able to fine people without a jury trial. The pharmaceutical, the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, will not be able to fine or potentially stop drugs that have broken rules without a jury trial. So there's going to be more analysis coming out about this, but this is absolutely tremendous news. When you think that one of the things that screws up projects here and all over the world is the SEC's ability to basically intimidate you into a settlement and bury you in legal complaints so you can't afford to fight them. When you consider that they are now already strapped thin and are going to be strapped even thinner because now they're going to have to go into court for a lot more cases, it's a big deal. But here's the really big deal. Does this mean that everyone that was previously, or at least the ones who wanted a jury trial and couldn't have it, but does this mean that everyone who was ever found guilty of a violation in front of the SEC administrative judge now has the opportunity to have their case thrown out in an appeal? If that's the case, it's going to be a frigging mess, because that's all the SEC is going to have time for. I mean, think about the hundreds and thousands of cases that, well, I should say this. It may not be that bad because the SEC is really good at intimidating people enough to get a settlement where people sign something that says, I did this, I will pay this fine, etc. But the people who did not, the people who fought it in court, very likely may be able to get their convictions or their fines thrown out. And fines thrown out. Does that mean that the SEC now has to refund all the money of those cases? And will somebody creative, an attorney in this security space, say, wait a minute, the only reason my client settled was because he didn't want to go to an administrative judge, and so that should be thrown out because he didn't go have the opportunity to go to a jury trial? This is going to be a giant mess. Now, the SEC is going to appeal. I don't know the court structure, what comes after the Fifth Circuit, if that's Supreme Court or something else. The Fifth Circuit is actually known as kind of this conservative, willing to do these kinds of things type of court. So maybe this gets overturned, and then maybe the Supreme Court declines to hear it, and this is all a nothing burger. But right now, today, this is significant news for crypto. I mean, this is a big deal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it doesn't change what the SEC would go after, and it doesn't change the fact that you need to make sure you're compliant as best you can, but it does weaken them dramatically, and it does spread their resources desperately thin that were already spread thin. On another note, I would encourage you, if you're a United States citizen, to please call your congresspeople and your senators and tell them to not approve a budget increase. There is a budget increase in Biden's budget for the SEC. I would highly encourage you to call Congress and tell them to not allow a budget increase for the SEC. If you think about it, the less resources they have, the less they can screw shit up. So anyway, I think this is really giant news. I'm shocked that it really hasn't made bigger news and been covered more. There has been news in mainstream relative to the fact that all regulatory agencies will be affected by this ruling. So we'll see what happens. They're not going to fight. They're not going to let this just slide. They are going to fight against it. But it's going to get really interesting. Speaking of the SEC, so in 2018, the then SEC chairman, Bill Hinman, gave a speech and did a panel and asked questions where he basically said that Ethereum is not a security, right? And so XRP folks are saying, hey, well, then we would qualify. And so they produced the video, proved that it was recorded and uploaded by a esteemed professor, that it's been validated as him. And of course, if you look at the video, you can see a picture of Bill Hinman and you can hear him talking. The SEC is delaying and stalling and refuses to confirm that the video of Bill, this is a good headline. SEC can't confirm a video of Bill Hinman is actually Bill Hinman. Just cracks me up. It's like, seriously, people? This is what our justice system has come down to. It is more important to win than for us to have justice. And that happens in all kinds of cases. And it may be that the SEC gets slapped down again by the judges because they are basically not following the orders required that were to comply with the request to admit this into evidence, I guess. Anyway, just cracks me up. The whole thing is kind of crazy. Just kind of nuts. Hey, I saw on Beefy, the APYs are a little low right now, but Beefy launched these try crypto pools on Curve that are really cool. And you know, if you overlook the USDT component of this, which I actually think USDT Tether, the folks are doing a great job fighting against kind of the FUD about it not being backed. Lots of new evidence and details coming out, and they have shifted more into cash and short-term debt to shore it up. But there has been a bit of a run on USDT over the last few days with people cashing out and leaving exchanges and transferring it to USDC or BUSD, et cetera. But these are some interesting pools. These are all down in the 22 to 24% range right now. But I like the idea of having a pool that's earning 22% with Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Tether in them, right? That's pretty powerful. And they have it now on 5 different chains. So you could choose Phantom, Arbitrum, Polygon, Avalanche, or Harmony. The Harmony's only paying 8% APY. And it's probably less than that now because people aped into this thing when this was launched, I guess, a couple of days ago. But this looks like some tasty shit. So I may jump into it. Let me see if I had anything else that I thought was important. Oh, yeah. So the hot dog stable coin is no longer at Costco. They're raising the price of the hot dog and soda combo by $1. So we can't really call. Well, we could call it a stable coin. It's the Doquan hot dog coin, right? All right, that's it. People, I am fired up and excited. For those of you that joined late, Permissionless was an awesome conference, beautifully run, incredible speakers. I learned so much. I have a ton of notes, a ton of thoughts, but the bottom line for everyone is I am more fired up than I've ever been. I think we should be, after we lick our wounds from loss in value, whatever, from the UST debacle, I would raise a glass to Do Kwon because it has shifted the dialogue and shifted the attitudes of people who are building and working in this space. And I will tell you that you would not have known at all, except for the jokes by speakers and panelists about Do Kwon, you would not have known at all that a massive crash had happened just a week earlier. It was absolutely an inspiring place to be. And I met so many amazing people. I've got so many cool interviews lined up with projects I hadn't seen and projects I've been trying to get into. By the way, I will have the VP, the guy that runs USDC for Circle, coming on board. Jeremy Allaire and I have had a couple of little DMs, and he gave me a nice retweet this morning. So I'm really looking forward to having a conversation and having an open mind with his VP, who's running the USDC arm of that enterprise. Because I have questions. You guys know I complain about the blacklist stuff all the time. But Jeremy made a really good point in a conversation we had the other day that institutional people putting institutional money into DeFi is going to require licensed institutional people somewhere in the mix. And so there are going to be components of this. If we really want multiple trillions of dollars in DeFi, there are going to be components of this that have those regulated components. And it's just a matter of you deciding whether you want to be in those components or if you want to be in other components. We can still have fully decentralized, no backdoor, no blacklist protocols. But if we really want the big money to flow in, and if we want to cement our existence with the existing traditional finance money, then that means, and have the growth we want, that means that some of these things are probably going to happen. No massive brokerage, bank, et cetera, is going to be able to do business in the space and run a DeFi protocol. They just can't when they're regulated that way. So anyway, very cool stuff happening. Lots of decentralization conversations. The Ethereum talk was amazing about the merge. I learned so much more about how things are functioning and what's going on. Oh, Ryan Selkis was absolutely hilarious on a panel. He was on a panel that I don't remember why decentralization matters. And there was like zero discussion of why decentralization matters. It was pitiful, but he had the best joke of the day. And I'll sum that up next week in a thread. And I DM'd him and said he was the only thing valuable about that 40 minutes. The rest of the panels were really good. There was a lot of discussion about mergers and acquisitions in the space. Those deals are getting funded. Protocols and projects are being set up for it. There will be a consolidation in this market. There would be big money coming in to pay for those consolidations. And there were a lot of interesting discussions about how you structure that with tokens, with multiple tokens, one project buying another project and merging tokens. Fei Protocol did it with Rari. But it was not easy and it was not without its issues. But there are going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions. Right now, if you've got the cash, this is an awesome time to have a roll-up project, acquiring projects in the space, because there are some good talented people and some good enthusiastic community members that I'm sure would love to be rescued from the malaise of the projects that they're on. So I think a lot of that's coming. More to come next week. I really need to take time. Oh, going to have the founder of Nexus Mutual on. I've done no deep dives into insurance. So he's going to be coming on to chat with us about what it's like, how they built it, and some really cool stuff that they're launching that goes beyond what they currently have. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, great week. I'm excited. I'm really glad to be back here talking to y'all, but thank you for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Please, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, rate and review us. Go to Apple Podcasts. You can rate, review, and subscribe. Make sure you get the latest episodes and all the latest news on DeFi Lunch, but also some really awesome Mission DeFi interviews that are coming out. If you're watching us on YouTube, let's start with YouTube. Please subscribe, click the little bell so you get alerted when we post a new episode. And please ask any questions you like in the comments. We're excited to always excited to interact with you, answer your questions, hear about great projects. If you want to DM me, you can. Telegram, B05 Crypto, Twitter, B05 Crypto, Discord, B05 Crypto, #2143. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening today. I'll be back Monday with Joe, and I hope everyone has an absolutely amazing